We feel that there's no reason why these people shouldn't just flip the coin completely over and simply call themselves what religion has called them for many, many years. Call them devil worshippers, or disciples of evil, or Satanists. Of course, it's very hard for a person to hang an uncomplimentary label on themselves.
Do you believe in God? I believe in an energy form, but I wouldn't like to put a name to it.
Do you regard black magic as being purely fictitious, or is there some truth in it?
Some truth. 100% truth. There is nothing fictitious about black magic, in any way whatever. It is a fact. It is a fact which has existed for several thousand years. I mean, when we talk about black magic, we are talking about Satanism, necromancy, alchemy, witchcraft, worship of Satan, the worship of dark forces, whether it's voodoo, juju, whether it's something practiced in the Western world or the Eastern world. It is basically the worship of the force of evil as embodied by Satan, Lucifer, the princes of darkness and their legions and so on. It is a fact. It is a desperately dangerous fact. It does exist. It exists around us today. Satanic ceremonies will be happening in Britain tonight. Very definitely. Ask any priest.
I fell into the trap of the black magic, Kabbalism, and just the Crowleyism of the times. It was a significant part of that middle point of the 70s, and I really got completely disoriented by all that. It was an awful, dreadful period for me.
He obsessed over the occult, burning black candles in his apartment, and became fascinated with fascist mythology.
Some of them say they'd be scared to sit and talk with you. I have a feeling he's into black magic and that sort of thing.
I'm a person of diverse interests.
Let's talk about what magic is with a K. Tell me how you describe it.
Magic is, for all intents and purposes, the Western path to enlightenment. You know, we think to achieve these things that we have to automatically turn to Eastern traditions. A lot of people don't realize that we have, something that's just as rich and beautiful and useful here in the West, our own spiritual tradition.
A man described by newspapers as the most wickedest man alive claimed he had penetrated even deeper into mysteries. Born in 1875, his mother nicknamed him the Beast from the Book of Revelation. It was a title he embraced his entire life.
He identified himself as the Antichrist, as the force that would take away this terrible Christian program which had so warped his childhood.
Magic in its modern day form, the way that most people practice it now, has very, very strong roots in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn.
I'm closer to the golden dawn, immersed in crowders in the fall, up in the tree.
The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was an English order of magicians in Great Britain in the late 1800s, and you had people like the poet W.B. Yeats, Aleister Crowley. All of these people were members of the Golden Dawn.
The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was a magical order active in Great Britain during the late 19th and 20th centuries. The three founders were Freemasons, William Robert Woodman, William Wayne Westcott, and Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers.
As a young man, Crowley became a member of the Order of the Golden Dawn, a ritual magic society that included men such as MacGregor Mathers, the supernatural writer Arthur Machen, and the poet W.B. Yeats.
So from a very early age, and throughout his life, W.B. Yeats was interested in all forms of the occult. In 1890, Yeats was initiated into the temple of Isis Urania, and his motto was, Demon est, Deus inversus. The demon is the other side of God. What seem to be contraries or opposites are in fact fused together in some way. They're interdependent.
The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was the secret society par excellence of the Victorian age in England.
It was a society for the study and practice of magic, of esoteric knowledge, with its own secret rituals and ceremonies and elaborate symbolism. It was Hogwarts for adults. They actually had wands. They had wands.
A group was formed by English and French Freemasons and Rosicrucians, and calling themselves the Golden Dawn, devoted to the study of Kabbalah.
So you had tarot, and you had Kabbalah, and you had John Dee's angelic magic and Rosicrucian traditions all being melded together under a single system.
Early in Kabbalah, a form of Jewish mysticism. One of the aspects of Kabbalah is the idea of stations through which God, wisdom, and the infinite may reveal themselves. Two of these stations are later mentioned in the verse, Kether, meaning the crown, and Malkuth, meaning the kingdom.
Who attempted to unify the entire Western mystery tradition into a single cohesive whole in the form of knowledge lectures given in an order along with initiation rituals given per degree. The logo of the Golden Dawn was thus a hexagram showing a sunrise above an ocean, meaning their summing up of the Western mystery tradition was an attempt to provide Blavatsky's myths with a working dogma to unify her New Age mythology.
Crowley's writings, like Madame Blavatski's, were heralded as forerunners of many New Age ideas.
She started writing, and she said, well, I get it from my masters. They're dictating to me, or I see it in the astral light, the inner worlds.
Skeletal, pallid figure, clad in black and white. Alongside this new look came a bleak moral outlook exemplified by fascist leanings. David Bowie's darkest character had taken hold as he became the Thin White Duke, and clearly hastened Bowie's descent into darkness. The Thin White Duke didn't just come out in Bowie's art, it also worked his way into his social interactions and interviews. He even praised Adolf Hitler, calling him, quote, one of the first rock stars, and saying he was quite as good as Jagger. He even said that America needed a good dose of fascism, saying, quote, you've got to have an extreme right-wing front come up and sweep everything off its feet and tidy everything up.
It's definitely known that Hitler and members of his regime had a very keen interest in the occult, and they adopted the trappings of occult symbolism.
As Hitler rose to power in the 1930s, Crowley's reputation was fatally damaged. He wrote pro-Nazi propaganda and was soon an outcast. After World War II, It was rumored that Hitler had used Crowley's and Madame Blavatsky's writings to help him create his theory of a master race.
So that was one of the founding practices, founding orders that turned into modern magic. You know, from there on, you had all these splintered organizations and techniques and stuff that took off, like modern-day Wicca.
The term Wicca first achieved widespread acceptance when referring to the religion in the 1960s and 70s. Popular culture tends to use the term Wiccan and Wicca as completely synonymous with the terms witch and witchcraft, respectively. Gardnerian Wicca, or Gardnerian witchcraft, is a tradition in the neo-pagan religion of Wicca, whose members can trace initiatory descent from Gerald Gardner. He joined an occult group, the Rosicrucian Order Crotona Fellowship, through which, he claimed, he encountered the New Forest Coven, into which he was initiated in 1939, supplementing the coven's rituals with ideas borrowed from Freemasonry, ceremonial magic, and the writings of Aleister Crowley to form the Gardnerian tradition of Wicca.
Well, what magic is, when you see it spelled with a K, it's sort of an amalgamation of Gnostic Christianity and esoteric Judaism. And
Crowley saw it as a doctrine or technique for making contact with spiritual entities for the purpose of expanding human consciousness onto a cosmic plane.
The phrase, "do what thou wilt," was taken from the Book of the Law, Crowley's most renowned work and one whose composition is worth understanding. While visiting Egypt in 1904, Crowley's first wife, Rose, began going into spontaneous trances, muttering things like, "They are waiting for you." Intrigued, Crowley and Rose went to visit the Cairo Museum. From a distance, she spied a glass case and exclaimed, there he is. He who was waiting was Horus." Upon inspection, the case did contain an image of Horus painted on a wooden stele, but what particularly stunned Crowley was its exhibit number, 666, his number, the number of the beast. Convinced now that something supernatural was happening, Crowley went back to his hotel and performed a ritual, summoning this higher power. Over 3 successive days, beginning on April 8th, the book was channeled through Crowley while in a trance.
Heeding the call, he began spontaneously writing a book he called the Book of the Law.
This book announces a new law for mankind. And in fact, it tells us that we are very emboldened and brightened spiritual entity. That in fact, you know, we are as the God.
And the content of this revelation? "I am the snake that giveth knowledge," the Spirit said. "To worship me take wine and strange drugs, whereof I will tell my prophet." Falling on precisely the wrong side of the Bible's account concerning the fall of man and Satan's role, this snake spirit begins the revelation by telling man that he is a god, that reality is essentially an illusion, sin a myth, and that ethically there's no greater commandment than the law of Thelema, Greek for will, as famously stated in the 40th verse of chapter 1.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
It would be called Thelema. He even devised a new religious ceremony, a Gnostic Mass.
Thelema's fundamental law was, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." Love is the law. Love under will.
O lion and O serpent that destroy the destroyer, be mighty among us. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law. Love under will.
The spirit of Aleister Crowley was set to rise again. Crowley's rebirth as a cultural icon for a restless and rebellious generation was underway.
We do what we want to do when we want to do it.
The bass player had it tattooed on his leg, as well as Crowley's Tree of Life design on his back.
Really, man, is living life to your fullest potential. I mean, like, whatever you want to do, when you want to do it, you do it, but in the grandest way possible, you know?
What do you want to say before we leave you?
Do what thou wilt. That shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.
Well, we love this man, dude. You gotta accept whatever he says because he has been through a lot and we love him.
Il satanismo insegna tutte le scuole sataniche. Fai tutto quello che vuoi. Gesù insegna, vuoi salvarti, vuoi andare in paradiso, osserva i 10 comandamenti, altro che fai quello che vuoi. Il satanismo insegna e la gente lo osserva anche se non sa che è satanismo. Non c'è nessun Dio sopra di te, sei tu il Dio di te stesso.
Every man and every woman is a star or a god.
Hey, we got one rule. There are no rules. Have a good time. Do what we want. Do what we want. Do what we want. We do what we want.
But I can do anything that I want to. I can pursue any kind of lustful desires that I might feel.
Therefore, each man, each woman is a god or goddess in Satanism.
Non c'è nessuna autorità su di te. E Gesù insegna, massimo comandamento, amare e servire Dio con tutta la mente, il cuore e le forze. Altro che fai quello che vuoi.
Now, if a Christian said to you, you were just really worshipping yourself, what would you say?
In a sense, they would be right. It is a form of self-worship.
Worship of themselves. You're worshiping yourself when you worship Satan. Whatever anybody wants to do, they can do whatever they want as long as it doesn't hurt other people.
Do what thou wilt often resonates in the words of the popular mantra, do your own thing.
And the thing is, whatever is good for you is the best for you, you know. It's a simple thing, but people don't understand that.
Doing your own thing means doing your own thing, not doing exactly what everybody else is doing, but doing what suits you.
Think about a world to come where the books were found by the golden ones, written in fame, written in awe by a puzzle man who questioned what we came here for. All the strangers came today, and it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, you pretty things, don't you know you're driving your mamas and papas insane? Let me say it again, you gotta make way for the Homo Superior. Look out at your children, see their faces in golden rays. Don't kid yourself, they belong to you. They're the start of a coming race. The earth is a bitch, we finished our news. Homo sapiens have outgrown their use. All the strangers came today, and it looks as though they're here to stay.